this. For my case, I didn't study computer science. I studied a business course. What eventually happened was that, so when I finished university, I was working in an NGO. I'd spent all my university life working. So I left the NGO world and I became jobless. And then there was this one time in 2015 when I have to go to Kisoro to attend to an emergency. And then this particular evening, I rushed to the bus park. I remember very well, it was Namaiva. I rushed to Namaiva. I buy a ticket. I find the buses are full. There's no bus that is going to Kisoro because all the buses have been booked out. So a certain gentleman walks up to me and says, "Hey, I see you want to travel. I can give you a ticket, but if you add 10,000 Uganda shillings." Now, I remember that by then the ticket was 30,000. So he says, "Add 10,000 and I'll give you the tickets." I ask him, "Why do you want to sell your ticket?" And he says, "No, I don't want to travel. I wanted to travel, but I've canceled my program, so I'm selling my ticket." And I'm like, "Good, thank you so much." So I pay the ticket and I jump into the bus. And when they're doing inspection, you guys know how they inspect tickets. And when they're inspecting, the inspector tells me, "Hey, look here, you have a fake ticket." And I'm like, "Really? How is it fake?" He tells me, "Check your neighbor and see if they are the same." So I actually did check, only to realize that this ticket was actually fake. So the inspector tells me, "You either have to pay more money and buy a new ticket or you get off the bus." Of course, I really wanted to travel. And of course, I was broke. So I pay an extra 30,000 and I travel. So when I came back to Kampala, I went to Namaiva and I told myself, I must find this guy and get him to give me back my money. So when I was looking for him, I could remember clearly how his face looked like. Someone walks up to me and tells me, "You are wasting time. These things happen a lot. People lose their money every day, so you don't have to really look for this guy. You'll not even get him." Then I tell myself, that's bad. So I ask. So that's when it hits me that so many other people were actually buying fraudulent tickets, and no one was taking care. No one was caring. The government wasn't caring. Like, people were losing money like that. And you guys know, Mtwale is a lot of money for if you're traveling. You get it. There have been times when you're traveling and the only thing you have is transport. I'm sure, Ronald, that has happened to you. So what happens is I start the journey to ask myself how I can solve this problem. And I did not develop the app there and then. What happens is that I stationed in the Namaiva and stayed in Namaiva for 6 months. I would leave home in the morning, come to Namaiva to sell tickets. I told all my friends on Facebook, "Hey, look here, if you want to travel, just call me, I'll buy you the ticket. If you have a friend who wants to travel, call me, I'll buy you a ticket." Later on, I learned that that was market research and the validation, trying to validate the product. Back then, I didn't know that I was validating the product. So after like 6 months, I sold about 600 tickets, and the calls were becoming very many. And then I asked myself, I cannot keep picking all these calls. These calls are so many. I need to find a way to get these tickets sold without me having to pick calls now and again. And that is how we actually started thinking of how we could build a website, not an app, but a website. And our idea was simple. Let's have a website where people can actually buy bus tickets. At that time, a number of companies had entered the Ugandan market. These include Uber, Jumia, Safeboda was also kicking it. They had a lot of budgets. They were really selling. They were educating people, what we call customer education. So I looked for a friend who could actually code. This was a friend of mine who had studied at Makerere. He had done computer science, like most of you are doing. He was really good. So I sit him down and I tell him, "Hey, look here, I do not have the money to pay you now, but I want you and I to come together and build this. This will be big. It will be big. It will change the world. It will make the world a better place, especially people who are using buses." And I tell him, "But I don't have the money to pay you. I want you to come on board as a partner. Your job is development. My job is selling. I will find a way to make sure the product works. You'll have to find a way to make sure. You'll have to find a way that the product actually exists. Product development, customer acquisition." So we set on a journey, and that was the first the first person who joined me on that idea. Fast forward, we brought on board other people. We brought on board someone who could sell. We brought on board marketeers. We brought on board other developers. We brought on board people could do what we couldn't do. We were looking out for people who could do what we couldn't do. For example, if I really didn't know much about finance, I would look out for someone who could do finance. And remember, we don't have the money to pay these people. So we're using sheer resilience and telling these people that, hey, look here, this is going to be the future. Some, of course, refused, and those who refused, we let them move on because we understood people have different problems. You cannot tell someone to come and work for free when they actually don't even have rent. They don't have what to eat. So they would have better off go and look for a job that can pay a salary. So then we realized that for our idea to work, we needed what we call the supply and demand side. The supply side means that you can have the app. It can work like magic. But for as long as the bus operators don't want to come onto that app, you are actually wasting your time. So the supply side means who exactly makes sure this service works. And the demand side meant who actually consumes that particular service. At the end of the day, even if the sellers are on your platform and they are not buyers, these sellers won't find value for your idea. They won't find value for the product you've brought to the market. So we needed to find a way to strike a balance. We were dealing with people who had never used computers. People who even buying something online seemed to be abufere. Like it's things for, like, are you sure I can actually pay money and that I'll find a ticket? Are you sure, you young man, you won't steal my money? Or are you, what happens if you steal my money? So a number of things we were dealing with were things like, what happens if I don't find a ticket? What happens if you steal my money? What happens if, so those kind of questions. But that was the whole gist of being a businessman. A real entrepreneur knows that nothing comes easy. Nothing comes so soft. So fast forward, we realized we needed money. We started applying for some grants, like the one Chavez said, the Tony Elmelo Entrepreneurs Award. I think that was about $5,000. We later on moved on to things like the United States Africa Development Fund, moved on to the Africa Entrepreneurship Award. Then eventually, when the idea was validated, customers were using the idea, we were having revenue coming in, we actually started talking to investors. Now, investors do not invest where they don't see value. Remember, they are not donating money. They are not. No investor is donating money. Investors actually invest in us because they believe that they will make that money back. They believe that they are giving you their money and they will get back their money with a profit. You get it? We talk to investors a number of times. We love their money. We want them to give us their money because we want our ideas to grow. But they want their money back after a certain period. You get it? And that is when you start from idea to Series A, Series B, Series C, then you go to the initial public offering, or you get acquired. So we started speaking to certain investors. Some of them were venture capitalists. Some of them were angel investors. Some of these outrightly rejected us on so many grounds, while some at least were able to trust us and invest in us. So in a nutshell, fast forward to 2020, lockdown comes, public transport is halted, and we were almost closing shop. But like I said, entrepreneurs don't give up. The moment you decide that you're becoming an entrepreneur, you know you've entered the battlefield where you can only win. When you run away, you become a failure. So fast forward, lockdown is over, vehicles are back on the road, and we enter into an agreement with this new company that was coming into the country. They wanted to start operations in East Africa. They were expanding from West Africa and coming to East Africa. And they said, we want to come into the East African market. We want to use Uganda as a launch base, and we want you to tell us if you think we can work together. Like they said, the rest is history, and here we are.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. That was, I don't want to call it a cool journey. That must, of course, have involved some bumpy kind of ride. But like you said, of course, that's where we are. First things first. Well, you make it sound like so easy. The Nigerian giant looks up to you and says, we want you to be our guy in East Africa. Well, I want to understand that before that, of course, there are Shidas that you had actually, gone through. Let's talk the positioning. You positioning yourself to be investor ready for this Nigerian giant. I don't know if you have any story that you would say, well, I got the deal, but I believe it was because of such and such and such. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. There are a number of factors that played in our favor, but also I must say there are a lot of things we got wrong. I really don't want to make it seem like entrepreneurship is an easy journey. If it was easy, it wouldn't have taken us 5 years to do that. I mean, I think we would have done it in 6 months if it was easy. But it was 5 years. That was almost the same amount of time some men took in Luero Bush. You see, it wasn't easy. But what factors really helped us? Number one, paying customers. At the end of the day, everything is an idea until you have people actually getting money and paying for the idea that you're offering. We really had over 100,000 people who were buying tickets on the Ugabas app. That is the first point of validation, that you really have people who are using your solution. Wow. Because then that means you are no longer just an idea. That means that you are now actually a business. And that is something we really did with one heart. The funny thing is that we actually didn't have an app that was perfect. No. And that's the one mistake that I actually see us making. We want to perfect our apps. We want to perfect our products. We want to perfect our algorithms. We want to perfect let's say if you're making cakes, you want to bake a cake that is very perfect. But you see, you can never tell that your cake is perfect unless someone eats it. So the first pays, eats the cake, and then they tell you, the cake is not good. You get it? We had paying customers. Number two is that we had established structures that every single entity, even if we were a team of only 7 people, but only 4 of us were full-time, but the 4 of us knew exactly how things should work. That a point that even if I wasn't there, things would still work. Number 3, I'm seeing we have 9 minutes left. Okay. Number 3 is that you don't build in silence. We were all over social media. I love what Tushabe is doing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, WhatsApp groups. I met Ronald because it was evident. We are in Yali. Yali has about 500 people. But I cannot lie that I know all of them. I only know a few who have become friends, very close friends. People like Tushabe. That means you don't build in silence. Imagine if Tushabe sat in Imbarra and said, Eyit TVs in Imbarra. I don't need to go to Kampala and meet other people or interact with them. We wouldn't be here. I wouldn't know who Ronald is. He wouldn't know who I am. Or imagine if I sat home and I don't maybe attend those events we hear, associations at the university, this association of this, school groups. If we had not attended that, I would never have met Tushabe. So you put the word out there and actually let people know what you are working on. People really knew. I think Tushabe, in your phone, I'm saved like Hakiza Yugabas. I'm very sure about that.
That's true.
People so people knew you say the word there, because even in my phone, Tushabe is saved as Tushabe Eyit. So we put the word out there. We don't build in silence. Number 4 is that we had proper accountability. Guys, from day one, the moment you register a company, every single money should go through the bank account. It costs about 3,000 shillings to actually have money go through the bank account. But at the end of the day, even when investors are investing, one of the things they ask for is a bank statement. And they have to see that there have been transactions happening on your bank statement. So some of us, we love these things of send the command on my phone, and then you know how you balance the thing in your head. At the end of the day, there's no way you can account for that. The best way to account for that is actually to have a bank statement that shows that transactions have been happening. So we had proper record keeping, proper financial audited books. Every single year, we always made sure our books were audited. Now, we didn't have a lot of money. We're not using hundreds of millions to do all that. No, trust you me, in 2016, only 270,000 had moved on our bank account. But I can tell you, we still audited and said, yes, we moved 270,000 Uganda shillings, But this is how we accounted for it. Of course, over the years, the money moved from 270,000. But what I'm trying to show you is that the moment you open an account, a bank account for your company or your product, start making money move through that bank account. Put the money there and let the money come out, because that's the first point of due diligence. And number 5 is that really utilize social media platforms. We don't have a lot of money to do marketing, and some of the best marketing I've seen available for us for free is social media. And of course, on social media, I think Ronald will be able to actually take us through that. We need to really be professional on our social media profiles. Some of us think that people are not watching. People are watching. I will tell you one time when I was pitching to a certain investor, and he dug back. I think this was 2021, and the guy dug back, showed me a tweet I'd made in 2016, and said, "Were you serious here?" And I said, so this guy sat on my account and checked through up to 2016 to see what I tweeted. You get it. So let's be very careful on what we post on our social media platforms, because you never know who brings that up so many years later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ronald. I guess maybe because we are running out of time, we could probably have what because I was reading there is a new wave of startup mergers and acquisitions all over, and I think Africa is the next target. Maybe something we might want to know, or what these young people might want to know, is how they can position themselves, even at this stage when they have just started the stage of innovation or ideation, or just trying to be like you. How can they position themselves to take advantage or to be ready for the mergers and acquisitions which are actually targeting Africa now?
Thank you so much, Ronald. The truth is, yes, mergers are coming. It is true that most of these companies that are coming from outside countries, they don't want to start from zero. The person doing education simulation, trust you me, there could be someone doing that in the US, and they want to come to Africa and do that exactly. They want to come to you. But how do you prove that they need you? Because at the end of the day, you have to prove that they need you. Number 1, like I said, make sure your financials are on point. Number 2, don't mind about the product to work. Just make sure there are people using your product. Make sure there are people using the product as a must. Make sure that people are using the product. Number 3, also have people who can, we call them referees when we are applying for jobs. In business, we call them reviews. People can actually say that guy is genuine, that guy is honest. Number 4 is that once you've made the product work, you've structured the processes, now the people, your team. We've seen cases where deals fail to go through because one of the founders said, all the founders disagreed. They disagree, then someone who is trying to offer a deal says, you guys are a chaotic team, so I don't want you. Make sure you actually have people on your team that you both agree. I mean, you don't have to agree all the time, but at least you can find a common ground. By the way, people must conflict. If you guys are working together and you never fight at all, then there's a problem. I'm joking. So then number 4 is that I think it's very important for us to really focus on building a product that works, and everything else will fall into place. The moment the product works and there are people paying, everything else falls into place. Trust you me.
Wow, thank you very much, Ronnie. I've also been told that you were actually referred to as the professor way back in your secondary school for the extreme work you used to do. You now know how much we can actually know you. In this of time, we are going to open up to the audience here, our young innovators here. In case you have a question, we could shoot it quickly to Ronald. Yes, let's go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald. We are so glad and very happy for have had such kind of a talk. And we are very grateful. And we are very grateful for that, and we can't take your time for granted. My kind of question is like that: how do we sell these business ideas? In case like maybe I have an idea, or I have like these projects that we are working on. How do I sell it to people? Then another thing, Do I need to showcase it what I have, or I can lay out my ideas on like in form of like kind of a talk? Thank you.
So you see, thank you so much. So the question usually we ask is, when you come to me, if I'm your target market, the biggest question is, what is my problem? And since you know my problem, then show me how you are solving my problem. Usually, if you show me how you're solving my problem, I will pay the money. I'll pay the money. I'll give you an example. Someone recently came to me and said, "Hey, Hakiza, I have briquettes that I'm selling, and that with just 2 briquettes, you can cook your food and it's ready." I said, "That's not possible." We tried it out. He put in the sigiri, and man, we cooked food and it was done. I was like, I have used briquettes for a very long time. This is the first time I'm seeing briquettes which you only put 2 and it cooks food and it gets ready. You see that? And I paid money instantly. And I told him, I'll pay you money. I'll keep paying. I'll pay. Why? Because this person solved my problem. My problem was that I was spending so much money on gas and on charcoal. And then someone comes and says, no, Hakiza, I can reduce that price by half. And do you know what that means? It means he has solved my problem. Usually the best way to get a customer, to get people to pay, is just to solve their problem. The other day, Travis solved, and I really say the services he's offering are very fantastic. The streaming services, it's very evident. I'm seated in Kampala. I want to hold a class with people in Imbarara. Ronald comes in and says, don't worry, stay in Kampala. Me, I'll do it in Imbarara, and we shall broadcast to the entire world. Trust you me, I will pay for that service because it's very evident we need that service. So yeah, just solve the customer's problem. That is how simple it is. And when you solve one customer and focus on one customer, when you solve one customer, they become 2, they become 10, 100, 10, 100,000, and so many.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess that is okay. We have another question for you.
If it goes off, I think I can rejoin using the same link.
Yeah, very right. Let's proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ronald. Okay, you have talked about how you started your company, and today I realized that there are many startups which are coming up, but most of them are not succeeding. So I would like that you advise us maybe how can one manage this problem or the challenge of facing competition among those ones who have.
Okay, thank you very much. You who is watching us live on YouTube. We should be able to be coming back shortly. In case you have any question, you have actually a chance to drop it around. My comrades in the Startups Champions of the NACE, I understand we have a few people watching. A whooping 13 of them actually watching us from YouTube. So you could drop any comment of your any question. Someone laughs that I said a whooping 13. Those are 13 innovators. You know, there are not many. So we are trying to make sure at least Ronald gets back on the call. And right after that, we should be able to roll. Okay.
watching Eyit TV, empowering you. You're 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 watching Eyit TV, empowering you.
Yes, Ronnie, we want to confirm if you are actually getting us again.
You're watching Eyit TV, empowering you.
Okay, so you could proceed with your question. It's okay.
Yeah, let's try to wind up in like 5 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
You're watching Eyit TV, empowering you.
How
Yuga Bus.
Yuga Bus came into existence. The background of it showed that you started when you did not have capital. And today, the same cases are happening. Very many startups are coming up. But the entrepreneurs coming from different backgrounds. Some come when they are poor and they do not have any capital, or they have small capital, and there are other people who already have some capital to start to use in those startups. So I would like to have some advice from you to help us, tell us, how can we be able, us who do not have capital to start up, to come up and overcompete those who have capital and they are carrying out the same projects. Yeah, that is my question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So there are 3 things that make up any particular company. Number 1 is people. Number 2 is product. And number 3 is processes. 3 of those can be achieved with very little money. For example, people. You can actually have the best people working for your company without you spending an arm and a leg. These can be people you studied with in class. These can be people who are your friends. You meet them at lunch and you both come together and say, let us change the world. When the 2 or 3 or 4 of you come together and say, let us change the world, then you add on the component of processes. Now, remember I said the people, product, processes. Now, processes is where you say, we are 4 of us. What do we do? How do we achieve each of these things together? Now, who does what and at what point, and where do I stop to make sure the other person does their job? And then after that, you both collectively now say, now that we have the people, we have known what the processes are. Processes keep changing, so you don't have to feel like they are written in stone. Then number 3 is now you say, so now how do we make sure that we have the product that works? Throughout experience, I've come to realize that, especially for us, our African market, a number of things can actually be achieved without, a good product can actually be achieved without us having to have a lot of money. Number 3, even those companies you hear that have raised money and they have money at their fingertips, I'll be very honest with you, they had to first validate their idea. I have not met an investor who invests in an idea, who just comes and says, you know what, I've loved you. You said you want to produce the vaccine for what? For this and this. Okay, good. Here is money. Go and start. No, they always want to see that you've done the product, that it works. You have the people, the processes are there. There's even at least a number of paying customers. And then now I'll say, hey, it works. Here is $10,000. Go and see if you can work more. Like that, like that. So people, get the people right. Try to get the processes right. And try to get the product. Like I said, you'll never perfect these things, but at least they should be good enough. A level where you can actually have someone pay for your idea. Number 4 is that the best investor is always the customer. I will be very honest with you. The 6 months I spent in the bus park, people were buying tickets. And I was remaining, I think I would remain with about 3,000 shillings on each ticket. So that is the money I would need to actually buy lunch and survive, eat katogo, and survive to the next day. So that means I didn't actually need investors. And even if I'm to repeat this process again, I do not think I'll start from a point where there are investors. No. So you don't sell anyone's land to try to invest in your idea, because in any case, you even have no idea it will work. So many startups actually fail. So don't invest an arm and a leg in a business, and never borrow money to start a business. You borrow money to proceed with a business, not to start.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Ronald. I have a few questions. One of them could be that it's about licensing. The question is, what could be some of the steps taken to initiate the businesses in Uganda? And maybe if you can clarify on some of the offices to approach. Maybe if you have the application in place and you need license to be able to operate in Uganda, what could be some of the steps to be taken?
Okay. I think startups, the reason why so many people don't understand startups is that we don't operate where rules are. The rules have to work in our favor. If you just starting up and you focus on getting licenses, now guys, this is a secret, and I know I may go on record for this. If you're just starting out an idea and you start looking for licenses, you are finished. You're completely finished. Those licenses cost a lot of money. I'll give you an example. Apart from the trading license, which you need to open a bank account, of course, that's the first license, and it is also attached to the bank account. And for you to really operate, you need a bank account. And now to open a bank account, you need the trading license. Now, let's do away with the trading license, because that one you must get it if you need a bank account. These other licenses, I think you should dodge them for as long as you can until you have customers paying you. Because at the end of the day, you'll end up spending so much time that you'd have used to build a product, so much time you'd have used to talk to customers, and now you're using that time to chase licenses. I really believe that startups are built to work like guerrilla forces. Guerrilla forces don't ask for permission. Guerrilla forces actually start off. Yes.
The other question would be the challenges.
Angie?
The challenges.
Neda. Okay, sorry. Yes, because continue the meeting.
It's okay. The challenges we face to educate our Ugandans, because they are taking these IT innovations in Uganda, like some things that are not so serious. So how have you really managed to educate Ugandans to be able to use, for example, these applications we really make? Because you find that someone you entrusting their money over mobile phones is a challenge. They call them scams. So how have you overcome such a challenge?
Ronnie, I think we lost your audio.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Like I said, the truth is that not so many people actually say yes to our ideas. So many people say no. So many people are not in agreement. So many people think we're going to scam them. By the way, as a matter of fact, even people in our families do not really understand what we are doing. That shouldn't deter us. Buy time, build your product. At the end of the day, trust you me, people at the end of the day will always buy into the idea. Let me ask you, how many of us here can actually, how many of us here think that, I always see it even amongst ourselves. You send someone money, after sending them money, you have an SMS on your phone and you call the person, Sente, Ozifunye, have you gotten the money? We do that, right? Because we don't trust the technology. Like, you'd expect that us who have gone to school, maybe we would know, he has received the money, but you call. That shows that we don't trust. So why do we expect someone else to trust our products? But that doesn't stop MTN from still selling mobile money. It still sells mobile money. And some people buy, and I can tell you, there are people who still don't believe in mobile money in Uganda today. So who are we? So at Shabe, I'm going to really, really request to run away and come back after 1 hour if people will be still around.
I actually guess we are done for now. Of course, we still need you. We'll arrange another session when we can have you and put you some other questions. But thank you so much for giving us your time. Maybe before you leave, just like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes an ecosystem to raise entrepreneurs. And please, whenever you find time, join us. Let us also raise so many young entrepreneurs out there so that we actually address an employment gap. Thank you so much. Enjoy billions of money out there.
Thank you so much, Ronald. Let me have a good day for now.
You're watching Eyit TV, empowering you.